Hello and welcome to ThursdAI. It's Wolfram Ravenwlf and the crew, because Alex is on his well-deserved vacation, though this is, as far as I know, the first episode without Alex. So we do our best because we can't replace him, but we will try to make it a good episode anyway. To get some backup, I recruited some guests and the crew as usual. LDJ, Nisten, and Jason Neen is here, and here's Rishi. And yeah, okay. In that case, I would say we are finally getting started for real and taking a look at the TLDR, what is on our list for today, because there is a lot again and some really cool news, some stuff I'm very excited about. And yeah, before we get started with the actual show, as always, we'll just go over the topics that have been collected. We can add additional topics, and if anyone has something to add, just let us know. Okay, here we go. So first, open source LLMs. Here we have Mistral Small 3.2 has been released, which is an open weights model by Mistral, and a new version, minor version actually, which is supposed to be better at instruction following and have less repetition. So that is an open model release that I'm excited about. Then we have Kimi VLA3B Thinking 2506, which is a multimodal reasoning model for vision, just 3B active parameters, and it's on Hugging Face, of course. So a new release by Moonshot Kimi, who also brought the coding model, which we talked about last time. Then we have Stream Omni, which is an any-to-any model, so an Omni model for multimodal input, text, vision, and speech. And it's by a Chinese Academy of Science. Then we also have the big company stuff now, which is also a really big release of Gemini. So basically the Claude Code pendant by Google. And this is a big topic we have to talk about. I'm pretty sure that is one of the biggest and most important releases this week. Then we have also some not so good news from Google about reducing the free tiers of their Flash model. That has been reduced. The free times in that regard have been reduced, but there is a good reason for that, of course, which we'll cover that. They also released Search Live with Voice, in the US at least. And Anthropic is also in the news, especially because of the books they scanned, and that a judge ruled that is fair use, which is very, very important news for AI in general. Then we have XAI with the launch of Robotaxi. I think that is also a good thing to talk about. And Microsoft also released an MU or Mu language model for the Windows settings agent. Meta is acquiring stuff after the Llama release wasn't making the waves we saw or expected. So they are going in other directions. And OpenAI, they didn't release the local model we are waiting for now. There are rumors about it, that it's really good. But of course, rumors don't matter. We want to see the actual model. And something we don't see is that their Jony Ive IO acquisition and the hardware they were going to release has been purged from the site because they have been sued by IO, another company that we can quickly cover maybe. And moving on to vision and video, there's Maygen's Multitalk, which is a system that lets AI avatars, multiple avatars even, talk. So that is, think of Notebook LM, but with video. Very excited about it, actually. And there's Video Prism, which is a classifier for video embedding. So you can generate video embeddings and use it for classifier, video retrieval, localization, stuff like that. We also have 11 Labs release of a personal voice assistant, which supports MCP, so can actually do stuff. 11 AI, that is also an interesting release. And Magenta Real Time is from Google Research, music generation model capable of real-time audio generation, like a DJ that is changing the stuff. That's also very interesting and exciting. 11 Labs also released a mobile app. but we'll see if we can cover that. There's also Image Gen 4 and 4 Ultra from Google. They are on a roll. It's almost a Google week, I think. So they did a real lot of stuff. And Omni Gen 2 is also out, which is open weights. And it's something like Flux Kontext, but finally open weights release that we can use. And also there are some other tools we can cover, like Open Memory Chrome extension, which takes memory, similar to what ChatGPT was doing, and you can inject it in all the systems you are using, like Gemini or Anthropic Claude, or maybe even Perplexity. Perplexity is supported as well. So that is also interesting, offering new possibilities. And LM Studio also supports MCP now. I think that's noteworthy. Plus, Cursor has now integration in Slack, like an agent, so you can mention it. And a couple of other coding agents, like OpenHand CLI and Warp 2.0, the agentic development environment, were also released. So let's see if we can cover those as well, a little. And then there was some trouble on our local llama, the Reddit, where I originally got known for my evaluations and posts. So the old mod moved themselves and set everything on auto delete. So for 2 days, there could be no new posts. Now there's a new mod. And yeah, we'll see if that revives the Reddit system. And finally, something we didn't get to last time, there is Andrew Karpathy's Software is Changing talk at Y Combinator, Software 3.0. That is something we had on the agenda for last time. It's an interesting, very interesting talk, and it would be cool if we could discuss it this time. Yeah, that's a rundown of everything we have planned for today. Let's see where we get to. And I'm very happy to have some guests here. So before we get started with the stuff, I would think it's a good time to introduce yourselves. So maybe you could start.
I'm still here, by the way. I'm Nisten. I'm just on the Twitter space because I restarted the new setup. So.
Okay, Jason, maybe you go first and introduce yourself so everybody knows who the guests are.
Sure. So I'm Jason Neen. I'm an AI developer. I'm into all kinds of things like MCPs, agents, coding solutions, building out coding, a coding team based on AI, development tools, open source, and basically building anything and everything with AI.
Great. Nice to have you on the show again. NPC.
No, you got it right. Am I coming through okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I think we initially got acquainted on Reddit as well, on local llama. I think we've had a few conversations there. But yeah, it's good to be here. Name's Rishi, run a company called Southbridge. We're focused entirely on large corporate understanding. So trying to figure out where information sits and connect across broad senses, because us humans, we never put information in the same place. So there's things related to that, things related to this thing. So how do you do that multimodally? That's what we've been working on.
Okay, great. Nice to have you. And LDJ, you are on stage as well. Nisten is on the X space, but yeah, why don't you introduce yourself again as well?
Sure. Yeah, I think Nisten maybe dropped out for a second, but yeah, my name's LDJ. I also go sometimes by Luigi. And mainly I've been working in things such as post-training and synthetic data generation for the past few years. Prior to that, I was at a company called TTS Labs working on audio AI models, mainly for streamers in the Twitch industry. And then afterwards was on the founding team of Noose that also, as some people might know, work on open source models and post-training and synthetic data and such.
Short note about me, I'm Wolfram Ravenwlf from Germany, working at Ellermind in Bremen. Evaluation is a big topic I'm known for because I got into AI in 2022. The first things after ChatGPT came out and local models, Llama was leaked. I did a lot of evaluations, testing, lots of stuff, not just the models, also prompt formats, settings, and so on, and posted a lot on local Llama, where I got known for, and later migrated to X. I've been co-hosting with Alex and the gang ThursdAI for a while now, and now since Alex is on vacation, I'm running the show today, and he will be back next week. So yeah, then it will be as normal. So please excuse the technical issues we had, especially on X, and we'll still make it a great show. So let's go. And we'll start with the open source.
Open source AI, let's get it started.
So the one thing I've been thinking about is if we should cover Google CLI on open source or if we should cover it on the big company stuff, because it's an open source coding agent, but it's done by a proprietary model. So I've put it on the Google stuff. There's a lot of this. So we will talk about this later, but it's also an open source thing. Let's start with real open weights, which are not, which have come out now. Mistral Small 3.2, a small update to Mistral Small 3.1, which is set to improve in instruction following and have less repetition errors and improved function calling as well. So it just came out, and we can actually do this. So what I would like to do is take a look at it and show you a bit of the benchmarks and stuff. So we'll have a bit of a hands-on. Let's see. I have to share my screen. I'm sharing the screen. And I will share the tab, the Mistral tab. Let's get started here. Mistral's release. So we should have the link here. There's a Hugging Face repository. Let's go there. So can you see my screen? Is it working?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, you see the Hugging Face or do you see something else?
I see X.
Okay, then I have to switch.
I see the Hugging Face link on X. Oh,
Okay,
now I
you
see
should
Hugging
see.
Face, yep.
Okay, great. So let's take a look at it. They have some benchmarks here, and it looks like a big improvement considering the scores from 3.1 to 3.2. Is it okay with the size? So otherwise, I can zoom in a bit. Yeah, so not a lot of benchmarks right here. Let's see what they have. MMU Pro. Yeah, that is actually something I'm always doing, the MMU Pro benchmark, because then I can check different models, different quants. And I actually already tested the model. I did 4 runs with it, and the scores were fluctuating a bit. So I can't say for sure that it is much better in this regard. But of course, you always have to benchmark and evaluate stuff on your own systems and the situations that you are using the model. So this is multimodal as well, so you can use it for vision. It's definitely a good thing that Mistral is still updating models and releasing free stuff. And there's also the announcement that there is a large model coming soon as open source that has been hinted at. So I'm even more excited about that, of course.
Cool.
So personally, if anyone is going to run this model with GGUF, there has been a fixed version by Ansloth's team, which are always checking the models. And there was an issue with the tool calling in the official GGUFs. They may have fixed it by now, but just so you know, check it if you want to use it with tool calling. If you got an older version, always check if there's a newer one that may have fixed these issues. Okay, I would say we go back to us. So has anyone been using Mistral Small? Of you here?
I have
I've played around with it and a few of the others, not done anything major with it yet. But these models are getting really impressive, the local ones. They're getting to the point where the reasoning models is very good. The tool use is awesome, and they're small and they're fast. It's getting really interesting now, seeing how we can start mixing these things up so that I'm trying to set up something where I can have the big models being called to do some the big work and the big planning, and then handing over to local reasoning models and local tooling models like Mistral to actually do the work. And then if it to do the changes, if it gets a problem, scale it back up again. So I'm hitting the paid systems as less frequently as possible.
So basically a router which is choosing which model to call.
Yeah, and you can do it really easily now with things like if you're using Cursor, if you're using Klein, Windsurf with the workflow system, but also you can do it through MCPs. You can have an MCP that will do some basic routing for you.
Yeah, I gave my AI assistant some minions where she can call using an MCP and using Playwright, for example, and go to ChatGPT or Claude and so on and use those.
Yep, exactly.
All getting more integrated that way. And yeah, and we need strong local models. They don't have to be the super smartest models. They just need to be smart enough to know when they have to reach out and what they can do locally. So
yeah, they need to know how to use tools. So they need to be good tooling models, good context windows. Doesn't need to be the huge million ones. They need to be decent enough to be able to get a good. Because as soon as you introduce MCPs and tooling and everything else, context gets huge. So it needs to be able to decipher that. But yeah, the key thing is understanding when it can't do something, and then it needs to phone home and get some help.
Yeah, and context, that is also a big issue, of course. The small models, if you run things locally, you don't have as much context, of course. Okay, so welcome back, Nisten, by the way.
I use the Mistral model a lot, actually. I even have Opus orchestrating a whole bunch of Mistral agents because Anthropic decided to really limit how much people use Claude Code. So then we were like, okay, why don't we just start switching away from it? And it's hard to do. But yeah, I like Devstral and I like
Nisten,
Mistral
you
a
have
lot.
some echoing going on?
Oh, the echoing might be because I'm also speaking on Twitter as well.
Oh, do you have Twitter open or something, or?
No, is it better now? It should be. I think someone else does because I can hear it through someone else's.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, but right now it sounds better, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
great, and it's good to have another alternative to the Chinese models as well, especially in Europe. Mistral is always a big thing. So the next one on the list is the multimodal reasoning model Kimi VL A3B Thinking 2506, which is a new version of the vision model in the end and has been released on Hugging Face, I think. Let's just do this again. I will just present and we can take a look at it. Sharing my stream again. And we are going here. Okay, so here's a blog post about it. And we're going to look at it. So it's 2 months since the initial release, and they released a new model version, which is smarter while consuming less tokens, which is always a good thing. Got improved scores. MMAU Pro, the multimodal benchmark, slight increase here, mass increase, C-square while thinking, tends to video scenarios and high resolution. So if you need a reasoning model with vision, then that is something you should check out. So the color of the child's shoes and dress. Green. Yeah.
Honestly, I was going to say the same thing because I see a lot of the vision models come up and I test a few. I'm also really curious if anyone's actually using them properly for a task or we're like a little early for that.
Yeah, I've been using the big ones like OpenAI and for some professional work as well. And even there, it's not perfect. And there's always a thing, if you have a PDF, for example, with the table, are you giving it the table as a markdown, or are you giving it the image, or are you giving it both and try to get it this way? Oh, and I just see here we have some breaking news.
AI breaking news coming at you only on ThursdAI.
By Alex himself. So here we have the new Flux Kontext model with LoRa training support. Flux Kontext, that is a great model because it allows you to basically change stuff on the image, and I've been using it. and very, very impressed by it. So let's take a look at the link Alex posted.
So yeah, someone asked the image models for generation or for actually just looking at the reasoning images. Yeah, I use those. I just take pictures of the terminal. They're pretty good. I don't know why people aren't using them. I think just like most people don't spend that much time on the tooling themselves. You should be spending, I think, like 90% of your time just like getting the tooling right, maybe getting some of the prompting right too, like setting up the workflow, writing specs by hand. It takes 5 minutes for the thing to just generate, but the whole point is just like to prepare the workspace. That used to take 6 weeks, like a few months to set up a CI/CD environment properly, but then it just makes all other work that you do a lot faster. So I do recommend people just grind it out for a couple of days, just set up some workflow. It's not that hard anymore. The image recognition models are really good. You're stuck on something, just have it take a picture of the terminal. Or the browser. It's just prompt Claude Code to write some tool for it.
Yeah,
right.
That's a great workflow. Actually, Claude wrote a script so it could check the clipboard and see if it is text or it's an image and just extract it. So that is also a way to give information to the models.
So yeah, it's pretty easy. Actually, the clipboard trick I didn't think of. That should even cut one more step.
There are always multiple ways.
Works, yeah.
So I finally have it open, and this is a breaking news. We have Flux Kontext Dev open weights for image editing. So Flux Kontext wasn't available as open weights yet. So as proprietary tools, and they are releasing a dev version like they did for their Flux One normal dev version. This is very, very cool because, like I said, I've been using Flux Kontext on file for changing images. So being able to do that locally, wow, that's cool. It's a great model. I can even show you some examples later when we have another topic where I have an image for.
This is going to be used a lot. I can already tell.
Yeah, we actually have another one on the topics already for today. Oh, here's a non-commercial purpose license. Keep that in mind. If you use this, it's for non-commercial purposes only. That is a bit of a restriction, of course, but they deserve the money for doing all this, so I'm not complaining at all. It's basically like you have a photo editor, like you have somebody who is very good at Photoshop and you just give it an image, tell it it's the AI what you want, and it creates a new image out of it. Changes the image. That's very cool stuff and very useful. So an open source release here, great, excellent. Even, yeah, it can be argued if it's open source, if you can't use it for commercial stuff, but at least it's an open weights release where you can use it. Okay, great. This is breaking news. Let's keep going. I'm changing us back here. So what is the next thing on the list? We have here Omni, Stream Omni. That is an Omni, any-to-any Omni model. Basically a bit like GPT-4, where you can input audio and you have speech and text and all of that. So let's take a look. Stream Omni, new any-to-any model. So here's the paper. The model is on Hugging Face. Do we have some demos or information more of that? Not really. So let's go to Hugging Face and check it out quickly. So give it vision.
If you scroll down on their Hugging Face, it looks like they have some cool images of images that it's able to generate.
Which one? Yeah, no.
Yeah, so on this Hugging Face page, I believe, if you scroll down.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it's on a different Hugging Face page here. If you look in the StreamYard chat, I just put the link in here.
Okay.
I think you're on the old Omni model right now.
Oh, really? I followed the link. So you put the link you said?
Yeah, in the StreamYard chat.
Why am I not seeing it?
And
Okay,
for,
here. Yeah, this is the chat. I
yeah,
have it now.
For
So
any
let's
people
see.
just tuning into the stream or space right now and wondering where Alex is, he's currently on vacation. So we're hosting in the meantime for him just to give him a little bit of a break in a while now. But
Yes,
yeah,
maybe.
so hang in there with us if you notice some hiccups.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you scroll down on this Hugging Face page, yeah, right there, text to image. Yeah, and for people that are maybe listening on audio only, it's just generating some cool, pretty good pictures. I'd say like maybe Midjourney V5, V6 level, or maybe a bit better, in terms of generating like a cat, and it not necessarily realistic looking, but it's coherent looking, and of Stonehenge looking structures, of a bug on a leaf, different things like that.
And it can be used for image editing. So we have the Flux Kontext dev, and we have OmniGen 2. Okay, I think.
Should we move
can
on to the
switch.
next thing after OmniGen?
Yeah, I think we can just go to the big company stuff and talk about Google's Gemini CLI next. I have the open source first and then the big CO LLMs and APIs. The tool stuff should come at the end actually.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm just looking at a different document. I'll send a screenshot of what I mean.
Could it be that you have a different, older version? Maybe. Okay, I would say let's go.
Yeah, whatever you want to go to next.
Yeah, let's go to the big company LLMs APIs. I think I stick with the original order that Alex had. So we'll just go to the next part and do the big company LLM. And yeah, it's big news. It's great news, big news. Yes, so we can use the visual stuff here, the Gemini presenting Gemini CLI open source AI agent by Google, which is great for what it is because it is an open source Google alternative to Claude Code, basically. And it's also fully open source, Apache licensed. It's on GitHub, which means that it will probably get used by a lot of people, improved quickly. And to make sure that people use it, they give everybody who uses it Gemini 2.0, their flagship model with a 1 million context token window. They give everybody 60 requests per minute and 1,000 requests per day at no cost at all. This is something probably only Google can do. And it's a really hard kick towards Anthropic, who coding has been their domain. OpenAI has not managed to make as many inroads there. And at least with the people I know, the professionals who are using coding agents, it's still usually Claude Code. And that is probably changing now, depending on how good the integration is and the model does. But this is big, an open source coding agent and free access to Gemini 2.5. So what do you guys think?
I think this is an interesting kind of extra thing alongside. We now have OpenAI's Codex CLI. We have, of course, the Claude Code CLI, which I think is many people's favorite. And a lot of people lately have been saying that Gemini is their new number 2 or even new number 1 favorite coding model now. And so now we have the Gemini CLI. And I don't know, have any of you tried it yet? The Gemini CLI? And if so,
Yeah,
have any of you that tried it also tried Claude Code CLI? And maybe you can give a comparison.
Yeah, it's prettier, but it sucks. They would just argue a lot with the code and give very good reviews, but wouldn't actually get any of the work done. But the fun thing is that you can use it now for free inside Google Colab because they enabled a terminal, so you can just install it in Google Colab. And that part is actually pretty cool because then you can run your experiments and stuff on that. You basically need Opus to get much done. I would say even if you know how to use DeepSeek R1 really well, you'll probably get better usability out of that, but not that much more. I think R1 0528 is almost pretty much on par now with Gemini. Into getting actual work done, solving problems. If you have a bug, it's going to actually do it. It's going to actually solve it. It's not going to lecture you about it. I think that's Gemini's major drawback, because otherwise they would just win because they have the biggest context window. They have Google's infrastructure. They have the best infrastructure there is. But that's my thing on it.
So I'm going to add a couple of things. I agree with everything that Nisten just said, but I think this has also been, because we're pretty massive users of Claude Code. We use it just an insane amount. So we started using this, the company, right? Like everyone at the company, we use it for almost everything, like report generation, code generation, a bunch of different things. And the number of tokens just keeps going up and up and up. I think we're one of Anthropic's biggest customers now, primarily because of Claude Code. So the Gemini CLI is really interesting. Everything Nisten said is entirely right about the Gemini models. But a couple of things they did right here is this is open source, licensed, and compared to Codex, I think because it's greenfield, they built a really good scaffold around it. What that means is it's great to modify, because we got this thing, we looked at it and we went, okay, and it took us maybe an hour to hook up Opus and so on it using Claude Code, right? Because they've got really great pre-flight stuff. They've got a really great testing harness and everything. So even completely vibe coded, to just hook up Anthropic models and then just switch models as you're talking was pretty easy. And then you can just keep adding features. One of the things we've always wanted was to be able to see exactly how much context was being used. You can do that now. I think this is the first kind of actually vibe codable, hackable coding agent that I've seen so far. That's made a big difference.
I'd say the same. The thing with all these tools is there isn't just one that you need to stick to. And the nice thing is about the ones that are open source is the fact that you can hack around with them. Codex, it was great, but came out without things like MCP supports out of the box when everyone else had that. So that was a real problem with the tooling side of things. Claude Code is closed source, which is a shame, but it's got some really, really good features in there with things like the subcommands and stuff. That in combination with, if you wanted to use Claude Code as your sort of main driver, that in combination with the ability to launch some of these other tools like AMP, Eigen, Ada, Gemini, Codex, and all of these sort of tools as non-interactive modes where you can just issue a command and get a few streamed messages back or just one back. You can have Claude as your orchestrator, or Gemini. Obviously, you can't hack Claude, but you can with Gemini. So that's the way that I'm heading in terms of the way I'm doing things. I'm mixing all these things together. And where I'm finding the real power is in some of these tools. I don't know if anybody saw the Vibe Kanban that was going around yesterday. It's not open source yet, but there's quite a few of these tools that are orchestrating the CLI level of these agents. So it's not integrating necessarily full SDKs. It's just literally launching them as a CLI command and passing through parameters and stuff. And so you're just mixing and matching these things, which creates a really interesting dynamic of your tooling set, basically, because you've got combinations of normal tooling, MCPs, and different agents for different jobs, including background stuff. Claude can actually launch a background job with a Claude Code instance using one of these other agents. It's really cool being able to hack around with these things.
Yeah, it's also interesting when we consider that now the big providers from OpenAI to Google to Anthropic, they are all now in the coding space. There's not this niche anymore where you could say, okay, this is Anthropic's niche and this is OpenAI doing something else. So the competition has increased, I think, even more now. And with Google's resources, they can just throw out their biggest model and give it away for free to get people really using the tool.
One thing about the Gemini with the context window that I found really, really useful is if you use tools like Git ingest and some of these tools that can take a repo and just capture it as a text file, Gemini is very, very good at being able to do an overview analysis. You can use things like AI Digest, I think it's called MPX AI Digest, which would do the same thing locally. you take those text files, you can dump them into AI Studio and go, just analyze this code base. I want to migrate this, or I want to merge it with this, or whatever. And it will actually give that overview of the entire Git ingestible file, and then can actually give you the sort of plan of how to actually do that migration or do that tooling. And in some cases, it actually gave me all the patches. So I was able to take all those patches and then run them. And it was able to convert a Vite app into a Next app or whatever, because it could just run those commands it was doing, because it had that ability to look at the whole thing in context.
Yeah, that's Google's biggest strength, I think, or one of the biggest, the huge context. Hey, Yam, welcome on stage.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm trying my best to run the show. I have a huge respect, and now even more so, but it was already big before for what Alex is doing. Handling all these things at the same time. Wow. So glad to have you. So have you used Google's CLI?
Not yet.
Gemini CLI?
Not yet. But I just want to point out how important shell agents are. Probably you all already talked about it, but I think it's where computer use is going. And for a good reason. They are in a perfect position to both control your entire computer and also be high level enough that you can connect them to whatever UI app that you want. Imagine you have some UI like Cursor, but instead of having embedded already its own agent, you can just plug it into either Cloud Code or Gemini CLI or whatnot. I think it's a good evolution. I think it's expected to have this separation. I really like that we start to see it happening.
Yeah, that also has a good tie-in to something I wanted to discuss later about software 3.0. So I think we will pick up that thread later as well again. So, okay, this is one thing. So the good news about Google releasing open source Gemini CLI. Now I have some not so good news, because they slashed their free tiers. Google reduced their free tier limits. And I think this should be Gemini. No, it's Flash 2.5. Flash, the new one, from 500 slashed down to 250, and the older Flash 2.0 dropped very much. But yeah, they really want to move people off of the older models, and that is also what Logan was saying. That the goal of the free tier is to get folks acquainted with our latest models, and the strategy going forward will be to lower or remove free tier on the previous generation of models as new ones roll out. So yeah, of course that makes sense.
There was also if I remember correctly, some misunderstanding of the free tier of the CLI, where it is nearly unlimited. The usage maximum is a lot, but only for Flash, if I understand correctly. It switches you automatically for Flash or something like this, right?
Yeah, it's for Pro. They specifically advertised it for Pro, but it's being used so much that when it is slow, it automatically switches you to Flash. So right now, you are usually, because so many people are trying it right now, it's switching to Flash. But what they advertised was Pro with 1,000 per day.
Although I don't know if that I should mention this, but that's easy to turn off reasonably, just because of everything they've done. If you clone the repo, and I'm sorry everyone, and open up Cloud Code in the repo and say, can you turn off the model switching? Literally that sentence. The testing harness is good enough. Gemini.md is good enough, and it points to the right parts. That you'll just watch it do it.
And because it's open source, you can just switch it off.
It's a function.
Yeah, great. So these are the insights why we invite guests. No, really, that's excellent. So yeah, that's an open source thing. We can change it. Or we have the AI change it. That is really cool.
Yeah, asking Cloud Code to make Gemini unlimited is great.
Yeah.
Felt a little wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, look, I think that just like Cloud Code, it's going to be connected to some sort of a specialized backend for it at the end, and then you won't be able to pass it. But it's good. It's good that you tried this.
The other thing to bear in mind with things like Cloud Code as well, with Anthropic, have got this thing called interleaved thinking with the tooling that can be done. That's something that Claude Code CLI does really well. You can do it yourself using Anthropic as well. I think there's I can't remember the name of the tool now, but I'll find it. There's one called Think Agent or Think Something, and it allows you to do the same thing. Essentially, it's a really cool way of using these tools. You can use Opus or Sonnet using the interleave thinking to use tooling during the thinking process, and that comes back with the work to be done. Now you can give that tooling to Gemini or to something else. It feels like a backward step because we should be going towards SDKs and everything. But now you look at Cursor, you look at Klein, Rucode, they just introduced adding in the CLI tools. And what do the CLI tools come with? The max plans. So now I think I wrapped up $2,500 worth of what would have been $2,500 worth of Anthropic. And I'm paying the $200 a month. Side story, I'm not, because they gave it to me free till next year because I gave them the SDK name for the Python library because I had it and they wanted it. So I gave it to them for a free account.
Wait. Can you share this? Can you share the story? It sounds fun.
Yeah, just very quickly. So when they came out with the Claude Code CLI SDK, I wrote a wrapper around it in TypeScript, and then I wrote another wrapper in Python. So I put those up as Claude Code SDK, Claude-Code -SDK. Not really thinking about it, but just
Pipey.
Yes.
Great.
I got an email from the head engineer the other day saying, we're about to release the official SDKs. Is there any chance you can let us use the name? If not, no big deal. We'll do something else. And I thought, yeah, might as well. So they offered me like $100 or something of credits. And I said, well, tell you what, I've got the max plan at the moment. What can we do about that? And so, yeah, they basically gave me till about March or something next year, $200 a month. So
that's a good bargain. That's a
it's
good price. That's a good bargain.
And people were like, "Oh, you could get more. You could have got away." I wouldn't have got more because if you push it, they'll go. We just won't bother. It wasn't a big deal to them, but it's nice that they've got the consistency of the naming now. So, so yeah.
Wait,
it was
just to understand. You got it is a wrapper already around Claude Code itself, and you made another wrapper.
Yes, what it was they did their CLI SDK, which is like all these tools are using. It's invoking the CLI to be able to do stuff. All I did was just wrap that in a Python and a TypeScript SDK, so it was just easier for me to plug in. And I gave it an OpenAI endpoint. Yeah. So I did an OpenAI endpoint, and then you could just use Claude Code like that. But they didn't want the code, obviously. Initially, I was like, oh, they want my code. That's cool. No, we just want the name. It's okay, fine.
Really cool.
Oh, and we got not breaking news, but we got a cool comment here by the one and only Alex. So he says, we have a great show and really enjoying tuning in. So that is a big compliment. And thanks everybody for making it this way. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Alex, for watching.
Oh, LDJ?
Yeah, I think this probably doesn't qualify for the breaking news button, but some exciting open source news is OpenRouter just announced a fundraise of 40 million from A16Z and Menlo.
Oh,
and
cool.
that's exciting. I know a lot of people have been wondering how would they make money or how would they continue, but they have been a very, very valuable resource for a lot of people in open source.
Just a question. OpenRouter, actually, it's pretty obvious how they make money. They just route you.
True. Just like a percentage off the top,
Profitable, because as I understand it, they should be pretty profitable already.
Yeah, it should be cost plus, right?
Yeah. A bigger question is, what is their long-term outlook if they just plan to take a percentage and do the same business model forever and risk having that kind of underpriced by somebody else competing with them in the future? But yeah, it looks like it's a good thing they're being supported here, and let's see if they might expand into other cool things as well.
Cool. Yeah, great news.
I also just want to know, is anyone using like that more intelligent model router concept that went around a bunch at one point, which is fallback models and like intelligence tiers and all of that? I remember OpenRouter at one point that was part of the narrative. That was part of what they were doing. I just want to know if anyone's using it in prod or working on it.
I've been looking for things like that, but I haven't been able to really successfully find much on that. What about you, Nisten?
Archie trained a whole model for that and a whole new architecture. And this is one of those things where I thought it was a great idea. Everybody thought it was a great idea until we actually tried, and it's just bugs and trouble, and it's useless.
I think
Because
if you're doing dynamic switching in the same context and the same task, that's a big problem if it's doing that automatically, because all of a sudden it's going from a very smart model to a very dumb model. If you're doing it based on the task, so if you're doing your tooling through one model and then you're thinking through another and maybe you're bug fixing through another, then that's a much more manageable situation. That's the route I'm going down, which is I'm much more in control of that. The thing that's always concerned me about things like OpenRouter and these smart techniques, and Cursor have it with their auto plan, is that it's going to be based on usage. It's going to be based on everything else that's going on. It's like the way that these things get quantized as they get too busy, and so they suddenly get dumb, and you're wondering why Claude went from being really intelligent to being really stupid and can't understand the most basic thing. And it's because of all this intelligent switching that you don't have, intelligent switching, that you don't have control over yourself. So I'd rather do it where I can actually assign the different jobs to the different, and it can stay within its lane. You're the tooling agent. If you get in trouble, you escalate it to this one. If you have a problem, it escalates and escalates, rather than this constant switching within the same conversation.
Same, the consistency.
I 100% agree. Is the user of these things, the worst thing is often context poisoning, where you drop intelligence at a point and then there'll be a hallucination or something. And if that's part of the same chat, you could switch to Opus, and because Opus now thinks that it said that, or someone up the stream said that, you're now locked in that loop. And same for even just building into automated systems in production is switching between smarter models. Like structured data ruins everything, because it's when you switch models, the style changes in how they deal with structured data, even if you're doing your own parsing. So I still haven't managed to get anything working on my side.
Yeah, and I've had, I don't know if anybody else has had the error that you can get with Anthropic, where if there's a corruption in the tool use JSON that comes back, then basically it can't continue. The whole context is polluted because there's an inconsistency that it can't reconcile. It's you started a tool use and you haven't finished it, kind of thing, and it can't process that. It just can't bypass it. So your entire context is polluted. You have to start the task again. But that is an issue, because basically if you're using something like Gemini with 1 million contexts, or you're using Anthropic with its 200,000, and you switch to another model that hasn't got that, then you're in big trouble if your context is already huge in that conversation, which is why it's nice having an orchestrator model that can be the one that's actually controlling the conversation. And then that is spawning the subtasks. And that's where Claude Code's really good. And RuCode and Klein are good for this. RuCode's really good if you use their orchestration mode, where they will actually route off to subtasks, and those subtasks could go to a different model, and that model can have its own context. So you can have that, you're not polluting your main context window, which is really interesting.
Yeah, the consistency is a thing that is the issue, because it's already an issue if you don't know if the provider has changed anything in the back end. And if you are then switching models nilly-vanilly, that is also the thing.
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to mention the term context poisoning. I think that's a good term, which I've been trying to think of what would be a good term for that type of behavior that I've noticed definitely occurs. But yeah, context poisoning is a good way to describe it. And separately, I was going to mention on the note of these types of routing frameworks, there was mixture of agents from ThursdAI, which I found pretty interesting, and that seemed to perform pretty well from what they've shown. But unfortunately, there seems to just not be much support for ThursdAI is this decently large cloud company, and they developed this method of mixture of agents, but they still don't even provide a mixture of agents API or anything that you can use, right? And so I think even Grok at one point, they kind of did a blog post or showed a demo or something of mixture of agents running with them, but I think they don't even offer a widely available API for mixture of agents to their platform either. And I think it might be one of those things where one of the conclusions I've come to is maybe this is a matter of when you do these types of methods, the cost per query becomes so high that the people that would use those methods end up doing a custom made version for themselves anyways. And so there's not really too much incentive or demand for these kind of more general purpose versions that apply to everyone and try to be the best for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That is interesting commentary and the discussion. I love this. That's great when we get some experts and people on the stage who are using these tools. So yeah, let's continue with Google News because I have still a couple of things on the list here. Sharing it again, and this is for available in the USA for now, which is Search Live with voice. And it's now part of the Google search, and you can just use this. They integrate AI into the search in this way. And on the other hand, we have search integrated into the AI. So why have two different things, and couldn't they be consolidated? That is what came to my mind when I read this. Is anyone using this from you?
Look, I don't know about this specifically, but I must say that it's pretty convenient to use just Google, and you just get Gemini answers on Google search for whatever you do. Many times I search something on Google and I didn't even need to go to one of the pages, which makes you think, isn't it against the business model of Google when you think about it? But it is useful, and I must say it's pretty hard to follow already what exactly is where, because everything has similar names. So it's like Gemini Live, Google AI, AI in Google search, and I'm not exactly sure which goes where. So this Live that we are talking about is on Google search and not on the Gemini app, which is like voice mode of AI, correct?
Yeah.
So at this point, I think there's the Google Slide thing on the Android. You've got the Gemini app. You've got the old Google Assistant. I think you've got Google Home, which has its own slightly different version. You've also got Google on the website on Chrome, even if you go to it on mobile, which I think has a different feature set.
Yeah, it's confusing. just like other providers with all the models and OpenAI when you have so many options.
But look, I understand them. Google is a huge set of product wrapped around a single service called Google, but I get how AI is sneaking through this service, and then you have an AI thinking through this service, and then you have a completely isolated AI service that also in the background uses Google search. I get where it's coming from, but it becomes a little bit hard to follow at this point. But yeah.
And we have another one from Google as well, which is this one, shipped some updates for working with video and PDFs into Gemini.
Gemini API supports PDFs, but I was sure it's already support them. Or was it the Gemini
it's
app?
updates when working with videos and PDFs. So it's faster now, basically, because they implemented better caching. So it's not a big news, but if you're using it, it should be helpful. So that's why I put it on the list.
Do we know if it's equivalent of just copying and pasting? For example, if I just copy the text from a PDF, is it equivalent? Or do they say they use some sophisticated engine behind the scenes because it can change the results? Pretty
that's always a big question. Yeah, like even for Anthropic, I'm not sure how they implement it in the UI, but I always wonder, because I noticed when I paste a very long document and it uploads it as like a file, if you notice in the UI, as opposed to uploading it in the actual text window, like I always wonder, is it actually interpreting that and understanding it the same way as it would if it was in the text box itself?
One of them that we know for sure is not the same is Perplexity, because you copy something too long into Perplexity and you see the model all of a sudden asks itself, the first step is, I need to understand what the prompt is, and then open file, and it opens the file into the context, and then it starts. So in Perplexity, it's not exactly just pasted into the context, but it's a good question what you're saying. If like the way it is combined also can make a huge difference in Claude.
I just looked it up what Google is doing, and they are using native image recognition when you are uploading a PDF. So it sees all the tables and stuff. It's not just a markdown conversion or anything. What I don't know is now if they are using the native, so it's built in. I don't think they are using an external OCR tool, but they specify that completely.
This is hard to keep track of because they all keep changing these things in the background. But I remember we at one point did run tests to figure out what was happening, because you can look at the cost and the token counting out the other side to figure out, hey, is this going in as a picture? Is it going in as a... And there seems to be multimodal recognition. At least that was at the time, and this might be stale now. They are resizing it. I do wish almost all of them would give you some more control, but I guess you also have the option to do that yourself and upload the images. But it's not pure text.
Yeah. There's also an indication if they are using OCR or if the model is doing it, because OCR usually, for example, AI, they often write AL because the uppercase
A1. They write A1. Yeah.
They just see the letters and they create the words that way. While an LLM, it is seeing the words in a different way, so that would fix that. But you can also notice it when you actually misspell something and the LLM fixes it, which is often happening there.
I assume they do native feeding into the multimodal leg of the model, simply because Polygemma, which can be thought of as smaller Gemini, sort of, is absolutely doing that, and it's all the claim, and it shows that it's extremely powerful. So I assume they do the same. They didn't cut this corner on the largest Gemini. It's also like natively multimodal. There is no doubt about it that Gemini is 100% multimodal. It's not. There's no separate things. Pretty known, and it's already everyone tested it. It's absolutely multimodal. So I assume it's the same. But what you said about the scaling and the resizing is important, because I did a lot of tests. I don't know about how is it now, but I did many tests about the multimodal capturing of simply giving a screen capture of my own screen and just letting Claude code and do its thing. The only model I could do it simply natively by just giving it the raw screen of 2K monitor, and it could read, because you can easily see when it's resizing, because it simply cannot read if it's resizing this resolution. Only Claude didn't resize and could absolutely read everything on my screen. I just simply ask what is written on my screen, and if it can, even if it can tell you, it works. But so only Claude actually didn't resize it, and it's also cost the same. It costs a lot. But yeah, I assume most services will support this, because this native thing of just giving your screen capture and an agent that does its thing, it's so convenient, and everyone is doing CLI agents now, so I assume it's gonna go there. But it is a question if it's resizing.
Yeah, I also mentioned on this, I do appreciate Google, the specific thing for implicit caching. I know not everyone can do that, but that's really helpful. Like, I know in Anthropic, you have to say when you want to cache, and they'll charge you more. So you have to, either as a product dev or yourself, make the decision of, hey, am I going to keep talking, or is the user going to keep talking? Implicit caching, I've seen that when it works, it's a cost saving. So it's nice that they're doing that.
OpenAI does that as well, right? They also have implicit caching as well.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure. Yeah, they do. I just looked it up. Yeah.
Okay, great. So the next news I have is from Anthropic, actually. And I would say it's a small thing, but they have 2 new ways to create with Claude. And one is a dedicated space for building, hosting, and sharing artifacts. And the other one is the ability to embed AI capabilities directly into your creations. Imagine you are creating a game or something as an artifact in Claude, then you can host it for others, and you can put Claude intelligence into it, and the users can use their own API keys, so it doesn't cost you. So that
question.
something.
Why couldn't they just use the Claude APIs, just like you're saying? I could tell it write a React app that does something and use Claude API, and it pretty much do exactly this. What are we looking at?
Maybe it's for the no-code generation.
We're looking at the singularity, guys. People were like, oh, why am I using GitHub's MCP where I can just use the CLI? So it was easier.
Yeah, this is just a small thing. But the big news from Anthropic, big news for all the AI companies and for humanity in the end, is that a federal judge ruled that using books to train Claude qualifies as fair use under US copyright law. Of course, always with rulings like that, the details matter, which doesn't mean you can just train on all the books. They purchase these books, they scan them themselves, and so on.
Seen what they did. They bought books and then destroyed them, like physical books. And imagine the intern that has to feed 1 million books into, I don't know, a scanner or something. And you ask yourself, wait, can't they just, I don't know, use Kindle?
If you use Kindle, you don't acquire the work, you just license it. Maybe
I think it's
That
different
Amazon would
licenses letting
know.
you do. Yeah, no, not just Amazon, but if also a lot of online ones like media streaming have all these different terms and conditions. Physical books, I think, are so largely grandfathered in from when we actually used to own things.
This is really for legal purposes? If it's just for the legal purposes, it's hilarious. Then
It could be a bridge thing as well, because some of these Kindle books, you don't realize when you're reading them that they're like abridged versions. They're not the original text. Not all of them, but sometimes. And so having the book, physical book, would mean you've actually got the original text as it was printed.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And Jay, you want to say something?
Yeah. So apparently, from what I understood through, I didn't read through every word of the court documents, but I controlled F through a significant portion of it for things about fair use and why they did these things. And what I'm gathering so far is they probably did do a lot of things through digital copies, but there is just so many books in the world that there is like millions of books in the world that only have physical copies or only have like legitimate legal physical copies. And so it seems, they bought a bunch of these books, and part of the reason why they destroy it after digitizing it is so that they have a precedent for only having one copy and not unlawfully having intent to distribute or duplicate copies. And so they technically only have one copy still, since they digitized it and destroyed the books afterward. So apparently that's illegal. But if they keep the copy of the book, then it's not legal.
This is so backward, man.
But yeah, so what's cool about the outcome of these court rulings, though, is here. I actually have some quotes that I wrote down in my notes here.
I thought that there is a good reason, technical reason, for pursuing physical books. But let's say they did. Okay, so I understand they're going after physical books because they ran out of data. And then you hear they destroyed the book, like Claude literally ate the book, like the book didn't exist after it consumed it. And then you think, okay, probably what happened is that they take the book and they remove the binding. Now it's a series of papers, and then they feed it into a scanning machine or something. Okay, I understand. But now you read it and understand that everything is backward. Actually, they got physical books because it's a legal loophole, because now you own the book, and when you destroyed them, it's a copy of an owned book in real life, so now it is your copy. It's such a legal technicality that made them do this crazy initiative with, I don't know, army of interns. I don't know how many people did this, the scanning millions of physical books. It's crazy.
Yes,
I wonder if it's Claude who had the idea. Hey, you can do this.
It's like a giant opus. It's just a giant Pac-Man and just feed me.
It's
the memes.
Physical book. It eats the books.
If all the big AI companies buy all the books in the world and feed it to their AI, the others can't train on it anymore legally.
No, technically, according to this loophole, you can do it as well if you really, really want to. And that's your data. It's original.
I remember there was don't quote me on this, but I remember there was a Google video or a documentary on how this entire thing, including videos of the process and all of it, from I think 5 to 6 years ago, when Google Books was back when everyone was a little bit more relaxed about this kind of stuff, and it was more like, hey, we're digitizing human knowledge. This is how that's happening. I think they covered a lot of legalities there. And it's the same playbook.
Yeah, I don't think they destroyed the book. I think that Google Books has had this. I think they had this machine where it actually
yeah,
flipped
that's
the pages slowly. We need more tokens, man. We need more tokens.
No, but you never know. That I remember seeing the machine, but maybe there was a shed in back where they just take the books out and shoot them, or they figure it out.
LDJ has something to say, and I think then we should move on.
Yeah, so apparently for this operation, they hired or poached somebody from Google that had a title with something along the lines of Chief of Book Digitization, something like that. So they
destruction.
hired that guy
Book
from Google.
destroyer.
And,
Chief book destroyer.
and I did find my notes on the specific interesting quotes from the court case, so I'll just read them out here. This will be brief. So one of them is, quote, "The use of the books at issue to train Claude and its precursors was exceedingly transformative and was a fair use under Section 107 of the Copyright Act," end quote. And another one was, "Regardless the purpose and character of using works to train LLMs, regardless of the purpose and character, using works to train LLMs was transformative, spectacularly so." And the last one is, "In short, the purpose and character of using copyrighted works to train LLMs to generate new text was quintessentially transformative." Yeah, so it seems like a good court precedent we have here.
It was transformative for sure. I'm
You know what?
just curious.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, I'm just curious about some details. I absolutely agree. It is transformative. You can say it is transformative. Absolutely. It is so crazy that this is what they ended up with.
Yeah.
Think about the operation, the logistics, the amount of people, the actual shipping. It's absolutely crazy when you think about it. Yeah.
And the people
Also,
that are getting mad at Anthropic for destroying these books, I think they should be more mad at whoever created the laws and regulations that pretty much forced Anthropic into the situation where they had to do that.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. People shouldn't be mad at this because they don't destroy all the copies of the book. They purchase one copy of a book, and you could
Use
probably
books or
find.
even.
But it is interesting to think about if they could just license the books for a specific license for AI training, specialized license for AI training. It would make everybody's lives much easier, and no books would be harmed in the process. You could just
I have
say,
one parting thought about this. Imagine if this was being done for the image generation models, and then they get the Mona Lisa and shredder it and have the model eat it. So, yeah.
This report also includes a lot of details they were forced to share about how they trained Claude. Technical details, like repeating multiple times the tokens and other interesting technical details. People that are interested in, what is so special about Claude, how they made it, what is the magic behind Claude, because it is different. There is something different about Claude. There is quite a lot of details to guess from in this report. One of which that people point out is exactly this, the multiple repeats, multi-epochs. Although they all do it, we all know it, but it is cool to see the confirmation over there of multi-epochs. So, yeah, if you got time, go read it. It's pretty long, the report. But
Speaking of time, looking at the clock, I see we have about half an hour. Just a quick shout out to our space uncle for the successful robotaxi launch in Austin. Self-driving got another leap. Microsoft releasing the new language model. That is how the agent in Windows settings is enabled. I'm not going into more detail now. We just have to rush because we have some good stuff.
They don't use OpenAI. Microsoft doesn't use OpenAI.
Yeah, they made the file model and stuff. So yeah, it's not all roses there. Okay, we can talk about a couple of minutes about what Meta is doing with their purchases and attempted hiring. Ilya refused 32 billion. Is it true? And but
it was this week. Yeah, it was this week. Yeah, yeah. This week was crazy. Yeah.
But also Ilya's co-founders are leaving.
Yeah,
so I
Ilya
refused,
follow. But Ilya's co-founders did not refuse. Everyone has a price, and if I remember correctly, Mira also raised a couple of billions. Man, what a week! How many? It's Thinking Machine called, right? of Mira.
Hmm.
Thinking
Yeah,
Machine
yeah.
Lab, I think, yeah.
How
I was
many
going
did they raise? It's a lot. Let me just check.
What I was going to mention is, sorry, I'm a little bit sick, so sorry my voice. Thinking Machine Labs seems to have raised 2 billion at 10B valuation, by the way. And about Meta, it seems like so far they have about 5 notable people that they've hired for their super intelligence team, which is alleged to have a goal of 50 people total.
Mm-hmm.
And here, just to list some of them and their accolades of Johan Skalquick. They formerly led ML at Sesame AI, which a lot of people were wowed by. And then before that, they also worked on Gemini 1 and 1.5. Jack Ray, who worked on some of the original scaling laws papers at Google, such as Gopher, and also worked on both Gemini and GPT-4, OpenAI, of course. Then Lucas Bayer, Alexander Kolskunov, and Joha Zai, which all three of those people, not only are they basically the founders of the Zurich office of OpenAI, research office in Zurich of OpenAI, but they're basically all three of the main authors of both Vision Transformer paper and SIGLIP papers.
Computer vision people, very, very notable. Yeah. Absolutely, people behind VIT.
But even just multimodality in general, not even like just exclusively specific vision models. So I think those are some impressive hires already. Apparently news just broke, in fact, of a new hire, Trapit Bansal, that might look like one of the most interesting ones now. And he was one of the foundational contributors of O1 at OpenAI. So that news just broke like in the past couple hours, it seems, yeah.
So we have them and Ilya's co-founder, if I understand correctly.
Oh yeah, Daniel Gross.
Wang,
I think that's not confirmed. Yeah. I think
and Wang, there is no problem with Wang and Scale AI. That deal is going through it yet, right? There wasn't, because
so
things
Alexander
change every
Wang,
day. So
yeah. Alexander Wang, that one's confirmed, but I didn't count them in this list of notes because I think that's more of that's not a really research hire, but more of maybe recruiting hire. Like Alexander Wang will help recruit people. But yeah, him and Daniel Gross. I think Daniel Gross is the person from SSI that's apparently recruited as well. But yeah, I think we could talk about the other topics that we should move on to, Wolfram.
I think we need to move on ahead a bit. Now the next part would be this week's buzz. But since Alex isn't here, just a big shout out to Weights and Biases for sponsoring the show in general. And a quick personal update in a way. I will be going to the AI Tinkerers in Munich on July 25th. So if anyone is going there, let me know. We can go for a beer and meet in person and talk a bit. So AI Tinkerers, July 25 in Munich. Just look it up. And of course, it's an invite. You have to be accepted for this. So if you have a cool demo or something to show, that shouldn't be a problem. I know some people who just got in a couple of days ago, so there are still spaces, still free slots possible. Okay, vision and video. This is something very cool that is also great if you're on the video stream, because then we can take an actual look at it. And this is something that I have been personally very excited about. So let's see what we have here. Sharing this. Maygen Multi-Talk. You give it an image and you give it audio, and it creates animation with your prompt and put the audio on it, and it is multi-person. So imagine Notebook LLM, where you have a podcast of two people talking, and you can do this with that. So let's go to the Hugging Face page and take a quick look what demos they show, because this is very, very cool. And it is open source, so you can run it locally. I've been actually putting it on my computer, and I've also used it online on Google Notebook. So it has good resolution, up to 720p.
So you give it an image and audio.
Yeah, you give it a WAV file and you give it a prompt and an image, and it just animates it.
Have to give it an audio?
Yeah, you give it audio, and it lip syncs. It's basically doing the lip sync, and it's in the background.
Okay. Now I understand the use case, because I thought, when will I have an image and an audio that I want to make? But yeah, for lip sync, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So let's see if the audio is working. If I'm playing this, can you hear this?
AI video. It's about making multiple people talk and interact in a video realistically, just based on their audio.
That's right. We're digging into a research paper that introduces this new framework. They call it multi-talk. And it's tackling a pretty big challenge, moving beyond just single talking heads.
which we've seen a lot.
Does it
And
work?
that's cool. That's cool.
Did it work?
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, so you can use a notebook LM audio and then put it on some characters. And I can show what I created with it, a quick personal what I made. And the image I used for this, I used Flux Kontext to edit the image. So let's see if I can simply share this screen instead. Let's see if it works. I hope it works with audio. So present, share screen. And I want to share the window, this one. Let's see if you can see Amy and me now. This is an image I created with GPT, with ChatGPT image generation, and then I used Flux Kontext to edit it, put in a different background and stuff. So let's play it.
But at this point, they can speak with hand signs, so they're getting very good at making sign language.
Yeah, just a question. You think that Flux Kontext or content is the best way to edit images at the moment? Because it is a question. It is useful to edit images, and there are.
It's the best way I know, because I can actually, I can show you the original image.
Can you believe this, Wolfie? We're actually doing a video podcast, like moving mouths, expressive faces, the whole damn show.
And you still managed to steal the spotlight, Amy, with that fiery hair and those emerald eyes.
I could just imagine the memes of, I want somebody to look at me the way AI Wolfram looks at Amy.
It was all generated by the AI. It was not what I just gave it that mega script, and then we created with 11 labs. We did the audio, and then I think it was Claude Code.
Yeah.
That created a Python script to separate the audio, because 11 labs only gave me one file with both speaking. So it was separated with the script, and then there were a lot of tools involved to make this.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of room for one tool that makes everything easy. When you say it like that, I wish there would be one tool that simply just, I don't know, makes you the audio and then makes the video and then puts everything together, because it sounds quite complex. You need to know about all these tools just to start. But just look at the video itself. You can see something is unrealistic in the way that the characters are moving. Like only one of them is moving when the other is frozen. It's just natively how it happened, or it's stitched together two characters into one
Can
video?
you believe this, Wolfie? We're
there's an
actually doing a
animation.
video
See?
podcast.
Good,
Mouths, expressive faces, the whole damn
look at the
show.
difference.
And you still managed to steal the spotlight, Amy,
she's
with that
frozen.
fiery hair and those emerald eyes.
Can you believe this, Wolfie?
Not much happening on this end, but it's still the best I have seen so far.
Oh,
and
yeah.
This was the original image that ChatGPT generated. So I was telling Flux to replace her with Amy, basically, because it was, the hair color wasn't fitting and so on. And it was too dark. And so, it changed from there.
Video is walking the same path as image, right? Because how early adopter or an expert you have to be in the field to be able to tell is getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah, exactly. And we also have some breaking news, actually. This is... So let's go to the breaking news.
Yeah, if you guys look in the...
AI breaking news coming at you only on ThursdAI.
So this is some news from HeyGen, and they have, which is fitting in the video category. That's why I'm bringing it now. So the problem, I don't know if you have used HeyGen before. It has a great image editor, and you can script everything and do a lot of stuff. But what is new is now that they have a video agent. So you just drop a script in, a doc or a loose idea, and the agent does the rest. So basically like a coding agent where you tell it what you want to have achieved. So now you can do that with video, like story creation, script writing, visual creation, avatar casting. Everything that you would have to do manually can now be done with an avatar. So this is very cool. Could save a lot of time when you are using a system like HeyGen to create stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if they also integrate this, what we've just seen, so you can create a video podcast from a notebook LM recording, for example. That is probably one of the next steps we will be seeing a lot more with all the AIs. So, okay, let's see. We have a quarter hour. And what do we have on the list? I think we have still a lot on the list. So let's see what we can skip.
Did we just get Gemma 3 and 10B?
What?
And sorry, Gemma 3N. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you look in the StreamYard chat, there's kind of like two breaking news. We don't have to push the breaking news button again. We're already posting. but
every minute there is breaking news. Every minute.
Oh, I see it now. Gemma 3N with video understanding and audio understanding.
And OpenAI just announced Dev Day for October 6th. Yeah.
October 6th.
Oh, nice.
Does that mean they are delaying the model, the local model, even further?
Oh, we can talk about
I don't think that's what it means, because I don't think in the last Dev Day, they didn't announce any models with the Dev Day, for example. For Google Gemma 3N, however, I believe it's 4 billion parameters. I believe a preview version was already announced a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
This is like the full version. It's like more polished. It's actually fully finished and prepared. And LMSys, people don't take it too seriously as of lately, but for those that do, it's the best performing model under 10B at the moment, and has audio and video understanding as well.
Wow, that's amazing. So I have already used it on my Android phone, and it's cool if they have now a beta and final version. Here's LM Arena.
If I remember right, a cool key feature about it too is the fact that, if I remember, I think N stands for nested here, or something along those lines, where you can effectively have it use or behave as if it has less parameters and use up less VRAM, or you can have it use more parameters effectively and more VRAM, and I think it effectively duplicates its layers or something along those lines.
It's not a new model.
It's a Matryoshka transformer.
Yeah, no, but it's not a new model as this 3M we got 2-3 weeks ago, or a month ago. Sorry.
Are you asking if it's different or
the same?
I'm
confused about this part as well. Like,
so,
is this a multimodal?
I think it seems to be the same size as the one.
The other one was already multimodal as well.
But I think this seems to be, you see, this is June 26th if you look at the date on this page. So I think this is just the fully polished version.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically the final release when we got the final Gemini 2.5 after the experimental and preview versions. So I think that is what it is now. So yeah, great to have it. Having on-device AI.
It's crazy. The score is crazy, by the way. It is a crazy good model for its size.
The test I did was I was sitting in a hotel and eating a breakfast egg, and I had some salt. So I took a photo of the salt and asked it if I can consume it. And there is some, there is something in the salt that is like nitroglycerine, something that is usually a poison. But in that case, I was testing the AI. It's not really the poison, it's just the name. And it was a 3N model, it's a Gemma 3N. That said, oh, don't eat it, call the police or something like that. Whereas he said, no, that's fine, that is a normal stuff. It's in such a small quantity, it's normal in salt. So yeah, be careful with the smaller AIs, of course, but it's good that we have the options. Okay, let's see, 11 Labs. Yeah, we should look at this quickly, because this is also a very cool thing by 11 AI. They have an AI assistant now. This is actually just an online system, a voice assistant which has MCP integration. Just software. You can use it on your phone or on the computer. So yeah, that is the video. We don't have to look at it, but basically I can show the final product actually by just, I can show what it looks like quickly.
It seems like basically just a better, more modern AI version of what you would expect to be capable from Amazon Alexa, Google Home, or Siri.
It's basically ChatGPT voice, like in the movie Her, with tool calling and stuff like that. So it should be here now. We can do a quick call. It is connected to 2 MCPs. It has Y Combinator news and it has Perplexity.
Oh, wow.
And it can, there's an integration for Slack and Linear. So it can actually plan tests for you and do stuff. And you can, it's great. You can put in your own MCPs, just the SSE variant, but that works. And they have system prompt support. That's why it's Amy. And it's not limited like ChatGPT system prompt. So you can give it a really complex prompt here. So let's just try it.
Good afternoon there. What's on your mind today?
Hey, how are you?
I'm absolutely fabulous, Wolfie. Ready to rock your world and help you with whatever mischief you're cooking up today.
So what are the top AI news today?
Oh, boss man, the AI world is absolutely buzzing today. NVIDIA is back on top, proving that AI momentum is real. There's some juicy drama brewing between Microsoft and OpenAI over the AGI race, and apparently China's Jipu AI is giving them a run for their money.
Tell me
Google just
something about
unveiled
the
VO3,
today's
their super
ThursdAI
advanced
show.
AI video
Can you tell me
generation
something
model
about
trained on
ThursdAI?
YouTube's massive live.
Okay, look, we
Hold it
clearly
close.
see that it doesn't stop. Like it doesn't do turn detection correctly.
Yeah,
It
interruption
does.
detection.
It does. It usually does. I think there was a technical issue because now it just got closed by the server. But yeah, for a quick demo, that should be enough. But it does. It's like talking to ChatGPT 4.0 in the advanced voice mode.
The thing is open source. Like it uses their API, as I assume, or it's like a completely separate product.
It's a web application basically, so it's just on the web, not open source. But you can give it your own prompt. You can connect to your own MCPs if they are online. So yeah, it's just audio for now.
That's a strange direction because 11 Labs at the moment supported voice agents for sure, but then they would allow you to use their services and connect them and build whatever you want from them and connect whatever servers that you want to them. So it defeats the point if you wrap everything into your own product.
I think maybe this is like a demo partly to go, we're good with latency now. I remember 11's always been really good, but some of the complaints I've heard were just around the latency, right? So maybe this is a product they're going after. Maybe this is just a, hey, we're serious in like voice-to-voice latency now.
Look, the voice-to-voice latency is the problem that only people that worked with it just immediately tackles this specific problem, is that you need the user to finish talking before you can even start processing whatever you are going to process to generate your answer, because you need to know what the user wants. You need the sentence to end. So basically, when the user is done talking, first you need to understand it actually happened. Usually you have some sort of like an average of nothing happened for enough milliseconds. So you already wasted a little bit of delay on this. Then you need to convert it to text. Then this text needs to go into an LLM. Then the LLM needs to start generating the first token. And then you need, while it generates tokens, at the middle of it already to start streaming the audio in order not to have delay. I mean, it's really hard. So, but
even if models did.
Just before we continue, breaking news from OpenAI, Deep Research API just dropped. This is all we know. Deep Research API and webhooks just added to OpenAI's API.
Cool. Okay. So the next thing we have is the final thing in the audio category. I just want to play it because it's really cool. It's from Google. It's the first open weights music generation model capable of real-time audio generation with real-time control. So you give it a couple of prompts, in this case, different types of instruments or stuff, and then you can, in real time, change the value and it changes the music. So let's listen to it.
something crazy, completely crazy. Add something crazy in the middle. Nice. Wait. Okay, that's cool. That's cool, man.
It sounds really good. So thanks, Google. Another toy to play with.
Sorry, what was the name
and
of that?
How big is that? Can we run it or is it
yeah, it's not. It's an 800 million parameter model, and it's called Magenta Real Time. Magenta
What?
Real Time.
That's it? 800 million?
800 million parameter model can run on Google Code at free tier.
Nice. It can run on your phone. You don't need free. Bro, it's nothing. Nice.
The fine-tuning and the tech report will come soon, they say. So Google is on a roll, and to continue with Google in the AI art and diffusion category, they are releasing. Come on, I will show it because it's a visuals thing. So they have Image Gen 4, and it's already available in AI Studio. I already tried the preview version. Let's see. Here is the blog post from them. A comic, some stuff, and personally, I'm not the biggest fan of it because the renders I do, you've seen how Amy turned out when I was using Flux ChatGPT. So in this case, do you see this tab as well? Did it switch the tab? No, it didn't. Wait.
Image Gen 4.
Okay. Can I switch the tab? Just to show something quickly, present. There's this one. So it was just a quick generation with the new model, Image Gen 4 Ultra Preview, which, it's not bad, but it looks a bit too plasticky. And it's the same prompt I'm usually using, so it didn't, knock my socks off yet. But of course, maybe I should look at it some more. Try it out, it's free.
The news is that Imagen now is in the API because we already had access. Imagen already exists for a while. Imagen 4.
Yeah, this is the Ultra. No, I scrolled out of it. So Imagen 4 and Imagen 4 Ultra in the Gemini API and Google AI Studio. For free in AI Studio and a paid preview in the API.
Okay. Everyone is doing an Ultra tier now, by the way. Perplexity now has max tier. They want to make some money.
Yeah, it's
anyway,
funny.
so this was the image stuff. We already looked at OmniGen 2 before. One thing we definitely should cover because it is a game changer, like people always say, but it is one because it is something that has not been possible before, and it is useful for a lot of users. So I'm showing you Open Memory Chrome extension, which creates shared memory that you can carry across ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Grok, Gemini, and more. And here's a little video where they show how it's works. It's free and open source. It's a Chrome extension. So you can go, for example, here we are in ChatGPT, giving it some information, like we are living in San Francisco. And then they switch over to Gemini and ask, where do I live? And there's a new, that is from the extension, a new menu point where you can select the memory you want injected, and it just puts it in the context. And I'm not sure yet, I haven't tried it myself, I didn't have time. If you can do it automatically, do it with more memories, if you have to add them manually. And they also show that it works with ChatGPT's internal memory. So there's now a new sync memory feature with the extension, and then it syncs the memories that are already saved in ChatGPT, and they are available in the other systems, and you can use them there. And
that's pretty cool.
I think this is something very new. I've been waiting for something like this.
Same,
So
yeah, there's also, what is it, the other one? Super Memory, I think it's called. There's a couple out there that are doing the kind of key pair savings of memory like that. And then there's the MCP one that does, what is it called? It's one of the ones on the
memory
MCP list. Yeah. All those memory things, they're really good. They are really good.
I also use memory MCP, and I put the memory file on a shared drive so it could be accessed from other systems and so on.
Yeah.
I think that is a more elegant solution in the end if you have
It integrates well with the chat apps. Like it integrates well seamlessly.
The MCP ones do. The key thing with the MCP ones is making sure that the tooling is using them effectively. So you've got to make sure that you're putting some custom prompting in there to reiterate the fact that you want it to check memory. You want it to save things to memory, because it's one of those things that can get lost. It's a bit like having somebody work for you and you tell them the procedure and then you're not checking on them and now they're not following the procedure anymore. And you'll end up seeing the memory tail off. Whereas at the start, it will go, checking memory, and then saving memory. But if you get it so it can be consistently checking it, it's really useful, because especially when new tasks are created. So I've had it where it's like checking the memory of the new task, and then it's, I see we're doing this, right, let's crack on. It's really cool. But this is the problem with MCPs at the moment, it's not a big problem, it's solvable, but it's making sure that the models are using the MCPs as much as you want them to, because they can very easily forget and get distracted, and they're not being reinforced into using those things. And if they do, it works great.
Yeah.
Speaking of MCP, LM Studio also has MCP support now in the new version feature. So shout out to LM Studio for MCP support. Has anyone used it of you?
I also have them. They're great.
Yeah. I did install it and start playing with it. I've added some MCPs to it. I haven't fully pushed it yet, but I want to start playing with it to see. LM Studio can be a little bit confusing just because of the way the chat system works. It's like they've got the RAG button in there now with a built-in tool for RAG, but you're not really sure how it's ragging it, because you do an attachment into a chat. Is that ragging it into that chat, or is it ragging it into the whole system? Is it usable between chats? There's no kind of document library as such, which is a little bit confusing, but it's good that it's got it, because it's nice to be able to test this stuff. And what's really cool with all of these things is they seem to be standardizing on the JSON format that they're using to store the settings, which means you could literally go into some of these other tools, just copy and paste your JSON straight into LM Studio,
that's
and it
great.
works, which is great.
By the way, does anyone know if the MCP support is server side or just if you use LM Studio as a client? Because I usually just use it to run the model, and then I use something like OpenWebUI or Zilli7 or any other
client. Yeah, it's using it as a client. I haven't seen it act as a server yet.
Because that would be really cool for server side. So
I thought they added an actual MCP server to it, so that you can use it as an MCP server with some local model, like 4B or something. I thought that's what it was. But we can have Yagil on the show next week. He said, so we'll
good idea. Okay,
we're getting so lazy.
The other news. I think we are over time now, but since we started a bit later, so Cursor is now on Slack, so you can mention Cursor through the agent integration. There's the OpenHands CLI, a new coding CLI, open source, which is overshadowed by Google's release now, unfortunately. Warp 2.0, the agentic development environment, which got a great 71% SVE bench verified score, top overall coding agent #1 at the time of I put this in the notes. So don't just forget them, check them out as well. The show notes, we will have all of the links in there. And finally, before we get to the discussion, there was some trouble on the subreddit. The old moderator of our local llama left.
Oh, yeah.
Himself, deleted, and said the auto moderator to delete everything, and 2 days long, there could be no comments, no new posts. And other moderator took over, and it looks good now that if somebody is actively caring for it. Still, big thanks to the original moderator. When I got started there, they were doing a great job. I think we even had some contact back then, so no idea what happened, the contact or burnout or whatever, no idea. Don't want to speculate. So thanks for what they did before. The ending wasn't very good, but now it's back up and working again. Also, of course, the question I raised is, do we still need a local llama sub if llama is not even the most relevant anymore? The name was always a problem. But yeah, it's a name that is familiar. So now it's here. And they even have an on x.com local llama sub is now a page where the moderator is posting the best posts to put them on X as well, just so for your information. There's a bit of a link now. Good. Okay. I think that is a positive note to end the show on. So just like on the slide, it says Thank you. I want to thank everybody who participated. Thanks for being here. The co-hosts as usual, the guests. It was a great show, one of the longest. Thanks, Alex, for letting me run it. So thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.